Your garden worked hard for you all summer, providing a bountiful harvest, and now it looks a little exhausted? Are you thinking all that's left is tedious digging and a long winter's rest? But what if I told you the best way to rejuvenate that tired soil is to plant something on it? Again. And you need to do it right now, this autumn. Today we're talking about cover crops, but not just what they are. We're going to dive into how to properly harness their incredible power, specifically in the autumn, and how to avoid common mistakes. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you'll unlock the key secret that will transform your autumn soil care from a laborious chore into an incredibly beneficial and surprisingly easy task. Let's get one thing straight. Cover crops aren't just any old weeds. They're like a genuine green first aid for your soil. These are plants we sow, not for their harvest, but specifically to improve and revitalise the soil itself. Imagine, instead of laboriously digging up your soil with a heavy shovel, you're unleashing millions of tiny living drills, their roots, to do all the hard work for you. They aerate, nourish, and protect your soil. It's an ancient technique, often overlooked or forgotten by many, but a cornerstone of wise agricultural practices. So let's delve a bit deeper. Though, ironically, actual digging won't be required. And the first question we need to address is, why bother with all this autumn planting fuss? Wouldn't it just be simpler to turn over the soil and forget about it until spring? Imagine your garden. All summer, it worked tirelessly for you, like a true, diligent helper. It poured out every last drop of its goodness, all its nutrients, so you could harvest delicious tomatoes, crisp cucumbers, and bountiful potatoes. Now the harvest is in. What's left behind? The soil is compacted, hard as concrete. It's been baked by the sun, drenched by rains, trampled underfoot. Almost no nutrients remain. Frankly, it's hungry and utterly exhausted. And if you leave it exposed and bare like that until spring, weeds will be the first to arrive, eager for a feast. Wind and rain will leach out the last remaining beneficial nutrients. And this is precisely where our green allies step in. Cover crops. These are the most natural and ingenious way to restore life to your soil. We're essentially tucking the earth in for winter, under a living, breathing blanket. The roots of these cover crops break up compacted soil far more effectively than any spade, while their lush, green foliage provides a superb feast for earthworms and beneficial microbes. It is these unsung heroes that truly create the rich, vibrant fertility we all chase after in our gardens. Alright, let's take a closer look at our green heroes. Cover crops aren't just any old grass, they're like teams of specialists, and each one boasts its own unique superpower. We'll start with the most popular and fastest growing group, the brassicas. You're probably already familiar with them. Think white mustard, oilseed radish, and rapeseed. Want to know their main advantage? Speed. They're the true sprinters of the plant world. They sprout in just a few days and quickly put on a lot of green growth, even when the autumn sun isn't providing much warmth. But their benefits go beyond just speed. Their biggest superpower is disinfection. Their roots and leaves contain special essential oils that soil pests and diseases absolutely detest. Planting mustard is like giving your garden beds a thorough cleanse, suppressing issues like late blight, scab, and various root rots. And the root of oilseed radish, for instance, acts like a living drill, penetrating deep into the soil, loosening even the most compacted areas, and bringing up nutrients for your next crops. They're an ideal choice if you need to quickly and effectively revitalise your soil after hungry crops like potatoes or tomatoes. And now, let's talk about the true aristocrats of the plant kingdom, who don't just improve the soil, but literally lavish it with gourmet nutrients. We're talking about legumes, peas, vetch, lupins, and clover. Their superpower is pure magic, and it's available to every gardener. They can do something almost no other plant can. They take nitrogen, the most crucial element for plant growth, directly from the air. Imagine this. Tiny nodules form on their root systems. Inside these nodules live special bacteria that act like microscopic factories, churning out free nitrogen fertilizer. So, by planting vetch or peas in the autumn, you're essentially ordering a free, premium-grade fertilizer delivery for your next growing season. They're absolutely ideal for exhausted, tired soils. And in spring, after they've done their work, hungry crops like cabbage, pumpkins, or zucchini will thrive beautifully. While they grow a bit slower than mustard, their contribution to the long-term fertility of your soil is truly invaluable. They aren't just green manures, they are genuine soil healers and enrichers. If legumes are the gourmet aristocrats of the plant kingdom, then our next group consists of true heavyweights, titans capable of moving mountains, or, in our context, breaking up even the most compact soil. Introducing cereals, oats, wheat, and of course, the undisputed queen of autumn sowing, winter rye. Their greatest asset? An incredibly powerful and dense root system. Imagine not just one thick taproot, but a dense, intricate mat of thousands of incredibly fine, yet remarkably strong rootlets. They literally weave their way through the earth, penetrating even the densest layers. They create millions of channels for air and water, transforming unstructured, clayey clumps into loose, living soil. It's true biological drainage and aeration, all in one impressive package. But that's not all. Cereals, and especially rye, are relentless fighters against weeds. They don't just quickly form a dense green carpet, depriving unwanted plants of light. They also release special substances into the soil that actively suppress weed growth. By sowing rye in the autumn, you'll find yourself with a virtually weed-free, perfectly structured garden bed come spring. This makes them an ideal choice for reclaiming virgin land or for improving very heavy, compacted or waterlogged soils. So you've learned about cover crops, and it all seems pretty straightforward. Just grab some seeds and sow them, right? Well, not quite. This is precisely where many gardeners fall into a common yet critical trap. The name of this trap is crop rotation, or more simply, changing what you plant in a particular spot. Remember this golden rule as if it were gospel. Never, and I mean never, plant a cover crop from the same plant family as the main crop that grew there before it, or will grow there after it. This might sound a bit technical, but it's actually quite simple. For instance, let's say you've just harvested cabbage, radishes, or turnips. All of these belong to the brassica family. If you then sow mustard or oilseed radish, which are also brassicas, what have you really accomplished? You haven't improved your soil. Instead, you've created a perfect breeding ground for diseases and pests common to that entire family. Think of issues like clubroot or flea beetles. They'll be absolutely thrilled with such a gift and will come back with a vengeance to attack your next season's crops. The same principle applies to legumes. After harvesting peas, it's not wise to plant vetch. And after nightshades like potatoes and tomatoes, it's best to avoid planting phacelia. While phacelia isn't directly related to nightshades, it can encourage wireworm populations, which will then feast on your susceptible crops. Always rotate your plant families. That truly is the golden rule for a healthy, thriving garden. All right, we've covered what to plant, but now for the most crucial question: when? Because when it comes to fall cover crops, timing is absolutely everything. You need to hit that perfect sweet spot, that golden window of opportunity. And that window opens right after you've harvested your main crop. Did a bed free up after harvesting onions in August? Perfect. Sow your cover crops right away. Finished harvesting potatoes in early September? Don't wait. The soil is still warm and full of life. It's the ideal moment. Our main goal is to give those cover crops enough time for them to germinate, establish, and grow a substantial amount of green matter before the steady frosts set in. The guideline here is simple. Your plants need roughly 4 to 6 weeks of active growth. In that time, they should ideally reach at least 15 to 20 centimetres, or about 6 to 8 inches in height. All the benefits are locked up in that green mass and their robust root systems. If you sow them too late, say in mid-October, when the nights are already freezing, the seeds might still germinate. But all you'll get are weak, tiny sprouts, just a couple of centimetres or an inch or two, at all. They won't be able to effectively loosen or enrich the soil. It'll just be a waste of your time, effort, and, of course, your money on seeds. So, remember this simple rule: the earlier, the better. As soon as the bed frees up, get those seeds in the ground. And this brings us to the first critical mistake that many make, particularly new or inexperienced gardeners. It's the classic, "I'll get to it later" mindset. You think, "Oh, I'll have plenty of time. I'll just sow them later." But that later often stretches into mid-October or even beyond. By then, the soil is already cold, daylight hours are short, and nighttime frosts are becoming the norm. What happens to seeds sown into such soil? At best, they'll simply lie dormant until spring, like winter-sown crops. More often, however, cold-weakened seedlings simply don't survive. They don't have enough time to establish roots or develop the green mass we planted them for in the first place. Their entire mission is essentially a failure. You get none of the benefits. No soil loosening, no natural fertilization, no weed suppression. You're effectively just throwing your seeds away. Imagine buying expensive vitamins, but instead of taking them when you're ill, you wait until you're already recovered. They'll have no effect whatsoever. It's the same story with cover crops. Late sowing is the most common and, frankly, most frustrating mistake. It completely undermines the wonderful idea of autumn soil revitalization. So let me reiterate, don't put off until tomorrow what needs to be sown today. Your soil needs that help right now. Okay, the timing is right and the seeds are bought. Now it's time to prepare the garden bed. This is where many get enthusiastic, thinking, time to dig it all up really well, just like we've always been taught. But hold on, stop. Put that shovel down. For sowing cover crops, deep full tilling isn't just unnecessary, it's actually harmful. Why, you ask? First off, the whole point of cover crops is for their roots to naturally loosen the soil. Why would we do their job for them? Secondly, deep digging destroys the soil's natural structure, kills beneficial microorganisms, and brings dormant weed seeds to the surface, just waiting for their chance to sprout. Our goal here is minimal intervention. All we need to do is lightly loosen the very top layer of soil. We're talking just 1 to 2 inches deep, literally. A common garden rake or a stirrup hoe is perfect for this. Just gently rake over the bed, break up any large clumps of soil, and remove any leftover roots from previous crops and the most significant weeds. We're simply creating a small, loose seed bed, just enough for the seeds to get a good grip and make contact with the moist soil. That's it. No backbreaking work needed. We're simply setting the stage. The cover crops themselves will do all the heavy lifting when it comes to loosening and structuring the soil. Your garden bed is prepped and ready, just waiting for those seeds. Now, when it comes to sowing, you essentially have 2 paths you can take: the pragmatic approach or the perfectionist method. We'll start with the first option, the simplest and fastest, often called the broadcast method, or even the lazy way by some. Simply take a handful of seeds and evenly scatter them across the surface of your prepared bed. Imagine you're lightly salting your soup. Aim for an even distribution to prevent thick clusters in one spot and bare patches in another. Once your seeds are scattered, lightly rake the surface of the bed to gently incorporate them into the soil. This serves 2 purposes: protecting your seeds from hungry birds and ensuring good seed-to-soil contact, which is crucial for germination. This method works exceptionally well, especially if you're expecting some rain shortly after sowing. It's quick, requires no special skills, and is perfectly suited for larger planting areas. While your seedlings might not emerge in perfectly uniform rows like you see in gardening catalogues, they will absolutely fulfill their primary function, covering the ground with a beautiful, lush green carpet. It's the perfect balance between the effort you put in and the fantastic results you'll get. But what if you're a true perfectionist and the sight of randomly scattered seeds just doesn't sit right with you? Or perhaps your seed supply is limited and you want to make every seed count. For you, there's a second, more meticulous method. It takes a little more time, but the neat, uniform rows will be a truly satisfying sight. Grab a hoe handle, a board, or even just a stick, and create shallow furrows in your garden bed, just a couple of centimetres deep. Space them about 10 to 15 centimetres apart. Then, carefully distribute the seeds directly into these furrows, making sure not to sow them too thickly. This way, you can precisely control the number of seeds and their spacing. Once all the furrows are filled, simply use the back of a rake to gently cover them. The seeds will end up at a uniform, optimal depth. Your seedlings will emerge in neat, consistent rows. This method is particularly effective for small seeded crops like phacelia, and it helps you save a bit on your seeds. Choose whichever method resonates more with you. The most important thing isn't the process itself, but the end result: healthy, vibrant soil. So, your seeds are in the ground. What's next? Do you just wait and hope for the best? Generally, the natural moisture already present in the soil during autumn is perfectly sufficient for the seeds to sprout and begin to grow, but weather can be unpredictable. If you've sown cover crops and it's been an unusually dry and warm autumn, with no rain on the horizon, it's worth giving your green friends a little boost. There's no need to flood them. Simply grab a watering can with a fine rose attachment and provide a light, refreshing sprinkles immediately after sowing. This will help the seeds imbibe water more quickly and awaken to life, ensuring better seed-to-soil contact. This is especially crucial for lighter, sandy soils that tend to dry out fast. But don't overdo it. Our goal is just to lightly moisten the top layer, not to turn your garden bed into a swamp. One good watering after sowing in dry conditions, and from there, nature will likely take care of the rest. After all, autumn rains and morning dews are your best allies in this endeavour. Just a week or two later, and behold, a little miracle. Your garden bed is now covered in a lush, emerald carpet of young sprouts. They'll be growing by the hour, a truly rewarding sight. It might seem like the main work is done, but no, now comes the most critical phase: observation. We need to keep a close eye out for a very specific signal the plants will give us, and that signal is the start of bud formation. What exactly does this mean? It's that brief window when the plant has already developed its flower buds, poised to bloom, but hasn't actually started flowering yet. It's during this precise phase that the green mass and roots of your cover crop contain the absolute maximum amount of nutrients, organic matter, and beneficial elements. The plant is at its absolute peak of strength and vitality. It has already done its job of enriching and loosening the soil, accumulating maximum benefits, but hasn't yet started to expend energy on flowering and seed production. This moment, the very first appearance of buds, that's our finish line. It's the signal that it's time to move on to the next, crucial and final step. And it's precisely here, at this critical peak, when your plants are bursting with energy, poised to bloom, that the second and arguably most fatal gardener's mistake often occurs. This is the blunder that can turn your best helper into your fiercest foe. That mistake, quite simply, is hesitation, or waiting too long. What happens if you miss that narrow window? What if you allow your cover crops to flower and, worse yet, go to seed? You might think, no big deal, a longer-standing green patch is harmless, right? Think again. First, a flowering plant pours all its stored nutrients and energy into forming seeds. The green matter itself toughens, becoming fibrous and straw-like, making it incredibly slow to break down in the soil. All its valuable nutrients, its entire beneficial purpose, will have vanished. And secondly, and this is the truly terrifying part, those mature seeds will drop directly onto your garden bed. Come next season, instead of a neat row of carrots, you'll find yourself battling an impenetrable jungle of self-seeded mustard or rye. Your once helpful cover crop will have transformed into an aggressive, tenacious weed, one you'll be fighting tooth and nail all season long. Remember this golden rule: your cover crop should be incorporated cleanly, at the peak of its beneficial effect, without leaving any unwanted legacy behind. Do not let it flower. So, we've hit the sweet spot. The buds have appeared, but the flowers haven't quite opened yet. The plants are at their peak, offering maximum benefit. What's the next step? This brings us to a crucial, almost philosophical question that divides gardeners into two distinct camps: to dig it in or not to dig it in. Should we incorporate this green matter into the soil or leave it? It's precisely here that you'll find both the biggest mistake you can make and the most brilliant solution, one that will save you a ton of effort and bring incredible lasting benefits to your soil. For decades, we've been taught one thing: everything that grows needs to be buried deep down to decompose properly. But is that truly the best approach? Modern conscious gardening offers entirely different methods, ones that are far more effective and considerably less labour-intensive. Let's break down both options, the traditional method and the lazy approach. This way, you can make your own informed decision. And I promise you, the second option might just pleasantly surprise you. Let's start with a classic method, one our grandparents used. It involves cutting down cover crops and then incorporating them into the soil. How is this done? You'll need a sharp tool, a scythe, a sickle, or, for garden beds, a sharp hoe works best. Carefully, making sure not to pull the plants out by their roots, cut all the green material right at soil level. The roots remain in the soil, continuing their vital work of aerating and nourishing the microbial life. Now, what do you do with the cut greens? You need to incorporate them lightly into the soil. And this is the crucial point. Lightly. The biggest mistake is burying the green material too deeply, a full shovel's depth. Down there, without oxygen, it won't decompose. Instead, it will rot and sour, which can actually harm your soil. Proper incorporation means mixing the green material with the top layer of soil to a depth of just 2 to 4 inches, 5 to 10 centimetres. This ensures the organic matter gets enough air, and beneficial bacteria will quickly break it down into valuable humus. This is an effective, time-tested method, but it does require some manual labour. And now, for the promised secret. I call this the lazy genius method, because it demands minimal effort yet delivers maximum benefits. This approach completely revolutionises your usual idea of full soil preparation. So what exactly do we do? Just as we did before, you'll cut down or mow your mature cover crops. The roots stay in the ground. But here's the key: that cut green material, we don't bury it. Instead, we simply leave it lying right on the surface of your garden beds. Yes, it's that simple. Spread this green matter evenly across the entire area, creating a dense layer of organic mulch. What happens next? All autumn and winter, beneath this green, insulating blanket, a vibrant, unseen world will come alive. It will protect your soil from freezing, from wind erosion, and from valuable nutrients being washed away by rain. But most importantly, this blanket becomes a gourmet feast for earthworms and beneficial soil microorganisms. Without you ever lifting a shovel, they'll pull this organic matter deep into the earth, process it, and transform it into the richest, most structured and vital fertilizer. You aren't doing the work, you're simply creating the perfect conditions and nature takes care of the rest. So why does this seemingly lazy method often prove far more effective than traditional digging? Let's delve into the mechanics of this process. When we leave green matter on the surface, we're essentially replicating a natural process. In a forest or a meadow, no one buries fallen leaves and dead grass. Instead, all of this forms a natural layer of organic matter that gradually decomposes, feeding the soil and making it loose and fertile. By leaving cover crops as mulch, we trigger the exact same mechanism in our garden beds. This green blanket, first of all, suppresses weed growth by blocking out light. Secondly, it retains precious moisture in the soil, shielding it from wind and evaporation. Thirdly, and most importantly, it creates an ideal microclimate beneath it for our primary helpers, earthworms. They absolutely thrive in such conditions. Throughout the winter, they'll diligently work, breaking down this green matter and creating humus, the very foundation of fertility. Come spring, all you'll need to do is gently clear away the remaining mulch and make your planting holes. The soil beneath will be moist, loose, and teeming with life, all without lifting a spade. But what if you've planted what are known as winter cover crops? These are truly frost-hardy champions, like winter rye or winter vetch. They're unfazed by snow or deep frosts. They don't die. Instead, they simply go dormant for the winter, ready to spring back to life and resume growth with the first warm rays of spring sunshine. And that's their significant advantage. There's no need to mow them down in the fall. We simply let them grow right through the winter. Their lush green carpet will effectively trap snow on your garden beds, helping the soil retain more moisture and protecting it from deep freezing. Then, in early spring, as soon as the snow melts, the radish will spring into active growth, effectively suppressing the first most persistent weeds. Your key task is to cut them down at the right time, roughly 2 to 3 weeks before planting your main crops, such as tomatoes or peppers. The mown greenery can then either be tilled into the topsoil or left on the surface as a protective layer of mulch. This way, winter cover crops work for you not just in the fall, but also throughout early spring, preparing the perfect foundation for a bountiful harvest. By the way, who said you have to plant just one thing? Your garden is a place for creativity, and mixing different types of cover crops, it's like preparing a complex gourmet meal for your soil. Instead of a single simple flavour, you're giving it a whole bouquet of nutrients and beneficial effects. Creating these blends is advanced soil care, accessible to everyone. One of the most classic and effective combinations is oats and vetch. They make an ideal team. The oats' strong roots expertly loosen and structure the soil, while vetch, a true legume, latches onto its sturdy stalks and enriches the earth with invaluable nitrogen. Or consider a mix of mustard and phacelia. Mustard helps sanitize the soil, while phacelia, with its delicate root system, beautifully loosens the top layer and attracts beneficial insects. By creating such cocktails, you tackle several tasks at once and make your soil's nutrition more balanced and complete. Don't be afraid to experiment. Mix grasses with legumes, brassicas with other crops, and you'll see just how grateful your soil can be. And a final, yet crucial consideration for our autumn planting is seed quantity. Here, the principle of less is more truly comes into play. It's tempting to sow seeds densely, picturing a thick, lush carpet. But this is precisely where generosity can be counterproductive. Oversowing is a direct path to trouble. First, your plants will fiercely compete for vital resources, light, water, and nutrients. Instead of robust, healthy specimens, you'll end up with a weak, leggy, and stunted patch. Second, dense plantings lead to poor air circulation. This creates an ideal environment for fungal diseases like powdery mildew and various rots to take hold. Rather than improving soil health, you risk creating a hotbed for infection. So, before you sow, always carefully check the recommended sowing rate on your seed packet. The producer has already calculated the optimal amount for you. It's always better to sow a little more sparingly than to turn your garden bed into an overcrowded communal apartment where nothing can truly thrive. And now, for that game-changing moment, which might just transform your perspective on autumn gardening tasks forever. For decades, we've been taught to deep dig everything in the fall, to bury cover crops deep, supposedly for better decomposition. But modern agronomy tells a very different story. Deep tilling is incredibly stressful for the soil. It destroys its living structure, kills beneficial microorganisms, and brings dormant weed seeds right to the surface. Instead, consider this method. Simply cut down your cover crops and leave them on the surface. This isn't laziness, it's a conscious collaboration with nature. You're not just leaving behind green matter, you're creating ideal conditions. A true feast for earthworms, who are arguably the best agronomists in the world. They will naturally pull this organic material deep into the ground, creating that porous, fertile, living soil structure we all desire. You're essentially blanketing your soil for winter, providing a warm cover under which intensive restoration work happens. This is the key secret. Don't interfere with nature's work. Just give it a little help. So, let's recap. Autumn cover crops aren't about burying deep. They're about feeding, loosening, and protecting your soil for winter with minimal effort. Choose the right variety, sow them on time, don't let them go to seed, and then pick the simplest and most beneficial maintenance method, leaving the green matter on the surface. Your soil will thank you profusely. Come spring. Thanks for watching this video all the way to the end. If you found this information new and useful, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more tips and tricks for your garden. And now, a question for you. What's your experience with cover crops? Do you still dig them in the traditional way, or have you already switched to the no-dig method and left them on the surface? Let me know in the comments below. I'm genuinely interested to hear your thoughts and engage in some discussion.